Hi Tanya, this is Mike from Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine, and this is your singer. She's a Fashionmate Model 237, made in Italy, and she's a sweetie. So this is the final test before we pack her up to ship her out to you. And in the test, we're going to show you how to thread the machine, how to wind the bobbin, how to set the stitch length, stitch width, the needle home position, how to adjust the tension, how to adjust the pressure on the sewing foot, and how to drop the feed. And you may already know how to operate this machine, but in case you need a brush up, the information will be there, and also we'll post it on the internet for the sake of other people who have inherited mom's sewing machine or found a beauty like this somewhere else, and they need a tutorial. So without further ado, we'll start by winding a bobbin. So place your spool on the spool pin, go around the bobbin tensioner here in kind of a figure eight. You're going to go around the outside of the bobbin and then around the back and towards the bobbin winder. Put your thread through any of the holes in the bobbin. Hold it in place with your finger while you put several wraps on the bobbin to hold the thread in place. Then the bobbin's going to turn in this direction, so you want the thread to come on from the back. Just push it down on the bobbin winder and turn it until it goes down on the little keeper pin. Push this switch over all the way to the right, and that sets the stop finger there. Declutch your machine by turning the knob in the center of the hand wheel towards you about 1/8 of a turn. You'll feel it hit its stop. Then the machine and the hand wheel are disconnected from each other, and the hand wheel can spin without cycling the machine. And wind your bobbin. So, I believe we're ready to wind. No reason to go fast. The faster you go, the better your chances are of tangling your thread. That should be plenty for our test. Push the little lever out. Oh wait, on this one you push the switch over all the way to the left. Rip your bobbin off. Reclutch your machine by tightening the hand wheel, just snug, not over tight. Then the bobbin goes into the bobbin case with the thread coming off the top in this direction. Excuse all the chicken excitement out there. Somebody just laid an egg. Guide your thread into the little slot on the side and up under the flat leaf spring of the bobbin tension. You'll feel it click into place, and you'll also feel just a little bit of drag on your thread. Then your bobbin goes down there below the needle plate with the little finger pointing up. And that finger goes into its own little notch, which keeps the bobbin case from spinning as the bobbin spins. Hold the little latch on the side out while you push it in there onto this spindle of the bobbin race, and make sure it's in there snug and not going to fall out. Leave your thread hanging free there. To thread the machine, put your spool on the spool pin, go into this thread guide on the front of the bobbin winder here, on the front of the bobbin winder tensioner, down between the discs of the pressure foot, all the way around, and pick up the little check spring on the side here, and keep going until your thread goes up into the notch here on on the tension assembly. From there, those chickens are going wild. Go through your take-up lever from right to left, on down to the thread guide on the face here, on the front, not the face. Do the thread guide on the needle clamp, and then through the eye of the needle from left to right towards the inside of the machine. In case you can't tell, the chickens are hanging out right outside the window here. Don't ask me why. Put a fresh end on your thread, and it's so much easier to get it through the eye of the needle. Then, after you thread the needle, hold the needle thread loosely and cycle the machine one full revolution. And the needle takes the thread down where the hook picks it up and wraps it around the bobbin and brings up your lower thread. Put the thread between the toes of the presser foot and towards the back, and you're ready to sew. I think I'll cut those buttons off so I don't accidentally hit one of those and break a needle. Here, I'll include those buttons with the machine. Put your fabric under the pressure foot. Lower the pressure foot using the lever on the back of the machine. You set your stitch length with this control here. Anything below the center position here is forward. Anything above the center is reverse. So as you go down from the center, your stitches get longer and longer and longer until your longest stitches are all the way down at the bottom. And this is measured in stitches per inch. So 6 stitches per inch is a long stitch. 20 stitches per inch, that's a lot of little stitches, so they're fine stitches. We're going to go to about 12 stitches per inch because that's a good all-around average stitch length for regular sewing. This is your stitch width control. The position to the far right is straight stitch, and as you go to the left, your zigzag gets wider and wider and wider until your widest zigzag is at the far left. So we'll go back to the far right for straight stitch. Your needle home position selector is right now it's set to the far left. We're going to set it in the center. There are reasons to do the right and left, mostly decorative, but that's a little out of my realm. I restore machines, I fix machines, but I don't make clothes. So miles and miles of test samples, but I don't make any clothes. This is your tension adjustment, and we have it set at about 3.5. When we put it back together, we set it up so that your average stitch, the average tension for regular fabric, regular thread, is about 3.5. If you're sewing something heavy duty, you may want to turn it up a little bit to maybe to 4 or 4.5. If you're sewing something very delicate, you may want to turn it down a little bit, but just, watch your stitch, and if it's not looking right, if it's loose and loopy, you may need a little more tension. If it's puckering up, you may have too much tension. But again, that's a sewing thing. And here we go. Oh, sewing, the pressure on your sewing foot, it's also has to do with what kind of fabric you're sewing on. For something heavy duty, you may need a little more tension on the foot. For something delicate, a little less. We have it set at about 4, maybe a little bit above 4. Again, turn it up if you need, or turn it down. Basically, you want just enough pressure to move your fabric along with authority, without the teeth of the feed dog digging in too hard into the fabric. So now we're ready to sew. Don't push or pull on your fabric. Let the machine move the fabric. If you push the fabric and you happen to flex the needle, if you push the fabric while the needle's down, if it flexes and hits the stitch, the needle plate instead of the little hole that it's supposed to go into, then your needle's going to shatter. Could put your machine out of time. So rather than cause problems, just let the machine move the fabric. A lot of control of your speed. So if you want to slow down to make some delicate maneuvers, you can do that. Ooh, that's a nice looking even stitch on the top and well balanced on the bottom. Let's do a little longer stitch. We're going to go down to about 8 stitches per inch. You just guide the fabric, you don't have to move it. You can slow down for those curves and whatever. Now we'll do our longest stitch all the way at the bottom. Again, it looks nice. Boy, this is a really nice stitch. A lot of machines, well, never mind. This one's got a great stitch. We're going to go to a zigzag now. So take your needle up out of the fabric so you don't bend your needle when if the needle bar moves. And we're going to do a zigzag, and I'm just going to go all the way up to our widest zigzag. I'm going to zigzag. Oh, that's a wide zigzag. Wow. Can you tell it's been a while since I worked on this machine? There's a little narrower zigzag. There's a real fine zigzag. They all look good, both sides. If you want to sew a really close zigzag called a satin stitch, where the stitches are just right next to each other, you have to adjust your stitch length to the shortest stitches possible. And without the special satin stitch foot, which has a channel on the bottom to let the humped up thread go through, you can't go quite as fine, but because if you don't have a satin stitch foot, and as the thread builds up while it's making this long stripe, the fabric can get stuck under the presser foot. So get yourself a satin stitch foot if you want to do satin stitch, but satin stitches are pretty. So we'll go to the shortest stitch length, the widest zigzag. Then you're doing some embroidery and stuff. There. You can see that? As I said, with a satin stitch foot, you could go a little bit tighter even, so it just looks like one fat stripe. Pretty stuff. If you want to do free motion sewing, embroidery, darning, patching, that sort of thing, you may want to drop the feed dogs so that the machine doesn't move the fabric, and you can move the fabric by hand. So we're going to turn this dial on the bed from the up position to the down position. Oh, that's sticky. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. And then up here, you want to take your presser foot adjustment all the way to the D position for darning, and then you're in control. And of course, you probably want to have an embroidery hoop to hold your fabric tight while you're working, but now okay, you do it carefully. I just broke the needle, but I can not a big deal for me because I can just put a new one in. I moved my fabric a little bit too fast, and as I mentioned earlier, I flexed the needle, and the needle missed its hole and hit the edge of the presser foot. No damage done. Be back in a minute with a new needle. A lot of the thread's already up, so we don't need to go through the process of raising it. Okay, we're doing some free motion stitching, and before you do free motion stitching, you may want to watch a video or two on YouTube to see how to do it without messing up like I did. Yeah, okay, I'm going to do a narrower zigzag. Okay, that's a little better. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. Silly me's. No, I guess not necessarily, but I'm going to go down to a straight stitch. Then I'll have less trouble. So if you want to do art, draw pictures, write your name, you can do that by dropping the feed and letting off the pressure on the sewing needle. See? Artwork. Woo! So you've got yourself a wonderful sewing machine, and we'll get her packed up and ready to ship out to you. Oh, I know what I should mention. You're going to want to oil her. If you use her pretty regularly, oil her at least once a month. And to do that, you want to take out these 2 screws and lift off the needle plate and brush out all the dust and lint that collects around the feed dogs. And you're going to have to remove the top cover to oil all the oiling points inside there, and tip the machine back to get the oiling points on the bottom. And I don't think I have a paper user manual for this machine, but I probably have an electronic one I can send you, and that will show you how to oil it. It'll also it'll go over all the things I just showed you, and it'll also show you how to use all the various attachments that you can find on eBay. This uses low shank feet, the most common in the world. Most of the old singers, outside of the Slantomatics, used the short shank feet, like the Featherweight, 201, 1591, 66. That's the one that is painted up as a red eye or a lotus, or all the different pretty decal patterns. The Slantomatics were like the 401s and the 500s, and they had a needle that actually, the needle plate hole would have been an inch further out towards you than on this machine. And I think that the whole point of that was to put your work right in front of you. So it took a different foot, slant needle foot, but these regular low shank feet are just available everywhere. All sorts of attachments everywhere. If you've come to this video from somewhere else, if you found a link somewhere on the internet and come to see this video, we are Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine, and we restore old sewing machines. We've been doing it for 25 years or so, and we've restored well over 1,000 machines. And so if you come out to our website, you can see hundreds and hundreds, literally hundreds and hundreds of beautiful machines that we've restored over the years. I mean, nowhere near a quarter of all the machines that we've restored, but a lot of machines in our little museum of pictures. And you'll see pictures from all different angles, and there might be a little bit of information about each machine. And at the top of the page, there are usually 15 or 20 beautiful machines restored, ready to come home to your sewing room. And to find us, you go to stagecoachroadsewing.com. We're out here on Stagecoach Road in the Coast Range of Oregon. So we are stagecoachroadsewing.com. And we'll see you there.